Good afternoon, Sawubona, bonjour, all of the greetings in the many African language that they are. You are welcome. We are honored to have you here today as we celebrate the swearing in of our 10th president and CEO of the U.S. African Development Foundation, Mr. Travis Adkins. From the turnout today, and for those who are joining us virtually, we know that Travis has a deep network across Africa and has many fans that are going to support him in this role. We have been waiting for this day for several months since the departure of our former president and CEO, Mr. C.D. Glenn, who is also here with us today. Without further ado, to go ahead and get this started, I'm going to welcome our board chairman, Mr. Jack Leslie, as he kicks off our program. So thank you and welcome.
Well, thank you, Brandy. I mean, it's so great to see everyone, and I can see everyone kind of catching up. Linda and I were saying, wow, we haven't all seen each other for so long, and not even a pandemic can stop us from Travis's swearing in, and I think actually this kind of turnout, Travis, does show the amazing respect and affection that so many people have for you, and so it's a real testament. I'm so happy that you're all here. There are so many people to acknowledge that I'm not sure I should get into it, but there are a couple of people who I want to just call out. I mean, first, to say how honored we are to have our friend and former board member, Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, here. It is wonderful. We're going to hear from Linda. I just whispered to her that I'm the opening act, you're the closing act. So she knew her. So we will hear from her after the swearing in. And to say, at least our special former board members, Linda, of course, was on the board. So was Johnny Carson. Thank you, Ambassador Carson, for joining us as well. Linda Etam was going to be here, was also a board member, but she hasn't made it. But we do appreciate all of you, too, from the White House and from the State Department and from all of the different agencies that Travis has been associated with. And then I also want to give a special shout out to C.D. Glenn, C.D., who made such a difference here at USADF for 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure. Did you get the 5 years as here? And thank you for that. Lisa and Travis's family. Lisa's going to come up with us as well for the swearing in. So welcome to all of you. Oh, and I would really be remiss if I didn't thank Liz Filecki. Liz, as most of you know, took over the reins on short notice, held this place together, steered us through some rocky shoals for the last 6 or 8 months. So thank you so much, Liz, for all of your work. We are so fortunate to have as our next president and CEO, Travis Adkins. When I first looked at his resume, I said, oh my God, this guy's been training for this job his entire career. So needless to say, he knows how Washington works, and he has lots of allies and friends, as is evidenced by all of you who are going to be supporting our efforts. He knows how to manage. He knows a lot about development. He's really got a head for the job, but most importantly, he's got a heart for Africa. And more than anything else, here at USADF, that's what matters. And matters to so many of those who are outside here in the hallway, our amazing staff who do such a great job day in and day out under difficult circumstances. So they know that your leadership, Travis, and your heart and passion for Africa will really make a difference. We like to think of ourselves as the little agency that can. We can make a real difference in people's lives, the lives of people who are often overlooked and ignored, people with huge potential. And that's what USADF is all about, creating pathways to prosperity, led by and for Africans. We're here to empower them, and now I'm happy to know that we have a leader who's going to take this agency to the next level. So, with that, I'm very proud that as chair I get to do this, and that is to swear Travis in as the new president and CEO of USADF. So Travis, if you kind of come forward, and Lisa, we have the Bible. Is there any? This looks like a well-worn Bible, by the way. Come on up, everyone. We've got something that's amazing. That is terrific. So, you now raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible, and if you would repeat after me. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely, without any reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
And that I well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Travis. That's good. Congratulations. But it's all yours, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am a man of a heavy heart, and I think the first thing I want to say is something that I'm always saying to my students and those whom I mentor, and that is that you have to build your well in your life before you're thirsty. You don't call on people in a transactional way. You build real community. You build real relationships. The people that are in this room are some of the most powerful, brilliant people in our nation. But they are not my colleagues. They are my friends. And there's a huge difference. And so I just wanted to thank you guys in that regard. Certainly a heavy heart, a full heart for me today. Because for those of you who know me, you will know that this is a love story. This is a life work. This is a magnificent milestone for me, the members of my family. The members of my community. And even though I said good afternoon, I should also probably say good morning to folks who are watching from other parts of the United States. Good afternoon or good evening for those watching from the Middle East, from Europe, from Africa. Thank you guys so much for joining, for staying up late, for getting up early to be with me in this capacity. Also have to, of course, give a special acknowledgement to East Nashville. So the neighborhood is here. Thank you guys for joining. I promised you that no matter how far away from you I went, that I would never forget you. And I meant it. Thank you. Love equally to my family members in Atlanta, California, New York, and other places across the country. A thank you to my partner, Lisa. Thank you for joining. Thank you for helping me to carry the load. My abiding thanks, of course, to our chair, Mr. Jack Leslie, as well as board member Iqbal Peru, who was the chair of the selection committee. So honored to have your trust, to have your confidence, something that I will never take for granted or take lightly. And I'm so excited to do this important work under your leadership and with all of my colleagues who are here. I wish there was a world in which everybody was in here with me, but I know that you are with me in spirit. I have to also give thanks to my brother C.D. Glenn, who helped guide our agency through choppy political waters, to our sister Elizabeth Falake, who led us with grace and strength in the interim. And I shouldn't go much further without making sure to acknowledge President Biden for the privilege of serving in his administration, to thank USAID Administrator Samantha Power for the critical work that we did together in the time that I was at USAID, and also to acknowledge my wonderful colleagues at USAID, many of whom I believe are watching as well today. Those of us in this room know how important your commitment is, know how important your work is, but those of us on the inside can sense it in a little bit of a different way, how much of your life you give, how many of the people who do this work lose their lives to try to go after and to try to help people in need. So thank you, and I honor you all as well. Again, thanks to all of my brothers and sisters in this room. I grew up notionally being an only child, but because I was always pretty good at making friends to give me that family feeling. And so you guys have done that for me beautifully, and I'm honored by you. A special thanks to two people. I like to say that I am the kid of two goats. And for those of you who are slipping on your cultural competence, I'm not disrespecting my elders. The GOAT means the greatest of all time. And that is the Ambassador Johnny Carson. That is the Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield. It's hard to talk about. MVP. I just wanted to share that, the two of you, you cannot fathom the love, the admiration that I have for you. You don't have to do everything that you do, but you do it anyway because of your love and your integrity and your commitment. And it's really important for us to not only try to reflect those characteristics now, but for us to look just a little bit into the future and see who we might become if we can stay the course. The thing that I love about you the most, something that's very close to my heart, is that accepting a role of leadership in foreign policy does not absolve me from my responsibility to hold those same ideals at home, especially coming from communities who have suffered here the way that ours has. And it's something that I will never stop doing, that I will never be quiet about. And so to see you do it gives me that much more strength to continue on that course. The last thing I will say that really is meaningful to me about the both of you is that really I'm your student, but you allow me to call you a colleague. Really, I'm one of your sons, and you have many sons and daughters here, but you allow me to call you my friend. And so thank you guys for all that you've contributed in that way. As we close out this part of the program, at least in terms of gratitude, there's a flower here, which is representative of my mother, who is in Nashville, Tennessee, couldn't be here today because of Omicron, but also my two grandmothers who paid the price for my ticket, that make me who I am, that taught me that with love and belief, you can be great, you can achieve, that your existence is dignified in the world. You don't have to be afraid of anyone or anything. And so giving thanks to them, and to say that I'm honored by your presence, but of course I cannot accept that honor of myself because, again, I know who paid the price for my ticket. What kind of man would be carried to the top of a mountain by others and then would take the credit for himself when he made it to the top? Not me. And so I think about our ancestors who fought hard and gave everything so that we could have a free and dignified life in America. I think about this miraculous community that I come from that stands as an exemplar to the world, not just America, about love and humanity and genius and resistance to tyranny and oppression. Again, I acknowledge my mothers, all of them, without whom I would have no chance in the world. They took their scared and skinny little boy and they taught that love and belief could give you the power to overcome your fears, to navigate the forces that were arrayed against our lives, to walk the narrow path of my youth between an untimely grave and the cage of incarceration. And so it was at that time that I took an oath to myself, excuse me, sound people. It was at that time that I took an oath to myself that I would die before I would let their sacrifices be in vain. That I would stay the course. And that if I could survive, that I would live my life in service to the people who gave me my life. And so that brings us to today. And that's how I come to this place. It is not an intellectual project for me. It's not a career trajectory move. This is the thing that has captured my heart and my mind for as long as I could remember. That I was enraged and heartbroken at the condition of the communities in which I came. And when I looked out in the world, everywhere I saw a face like mine, I saw the same kind of suffering. And so, of course, the mission of USADF to create pathways for prosperity to underserved communities in Africa absolutely aligned with the mission of my life. If I had to say it in a sentence, I would say that it is to raise the standard of living for the people of Africa and the diaspora. This also answers the question that a few people have raised to me. Why would you leave a big flagship like USAID, the power of a presidential appointment, to take on a role like this? And people who ask the question like that, I know that they don't know me. Because while the cachet of engaging with world leaders and managing big budgets and wrestling with large geopolitical questions has its appeal, but for my life, the little people are the big people. I don't come from or for the high and the mighty. I come from the everyday people. And everything I do is for the everyday people. And so there's no better place to be than the USADF. And when I think about the large geopolitical questions that create the tempest under which the so-called little people live, often without the power to push back, often without the control to even think about tomorrow or the next day, much less the next week, the next month, the next year, I couldn't have found myself landing in a better place. So in a moment where localized development, respect for African agency, and high-level engagement between U.S., African, and African nations comes into focus, here we are. I've often heard it said that the U.S. ADF is the best-kept secret in the U.S. government. Jack called it the little engine that could. Now, all of those are compliments, but I take it as my responsibility to raise the profile of this agency, not just because it's my job, but because of our work. We are the only U.S. development assistance agency solely focused on the continent of Africa. We invest 100% of our funding in localized development initiatives. We invest 100% of our funding in African-owned and African-led grassroots enterprises and social entrepreneurs. 100% of our staff on the continent are African. Here in Washington, our staff is north of 60% comprised of women, north of 60% comprised of underrepresented groups. Our agile model of funding allows us to move more swiftly and assist more directly than many of our counterparts. These are not the traits to be kept secret. These are the traits that should make you the envy of the U.S. development assistance world. None of them can boast of that kind of diversity. None of them can boast of supporting people at that level. They're arguing and trying to figure out some big superstructure, and while they're doing that, we're there, right? And so we should be holding our head high because we are important people doing big things. And one of the things that I said, they had a skinny little boy, and one of the things they taught me, which I think directs or relates directly to the US ADF, is that you can start from humble beginnings, you can be small, but somewhere after you get into your 40s, if you work with love and belief, you can lead and you can be great and be effective. So in closing, I would just say that as we assess the ongoing challenges of COVID, climate, and conflict on the continent, my aim is for us to be increasingly responsive to the needs and conditions in the countries where we work. Often we have models and ways that we do things, but the world changes, and we have to change with the world. If I were to make it into a hashtag, I would say that we need to be moving at the speed of Africa. What is happening on the continent? Urbanization, climate change, governance challenges. How do we get out ahead of the trends? How do we work with our partners in this room to be exemplars of that mission, of that model, of that work, regardless of our size, regardless of who hasn't heard of who we are? Because you know who has heard of us? The 1.8 million people whose lives we've affected across the continent. Anybody who thinks that's small is in the wrong business. To the staff, in closing, I look forward to hearing from each of you about all of these things, about how we can rise to the challenge, about how we can do what we do better than we've done it with our African partners together. Lastly, as I said to you in my introductory message, I will wake up every day committed to those we serve and those whom serve, and that's you. Thank you for the warm welcome to the US ADF.
You know, everything I would have wanted to say, you've heard already. And let me just start by saying congratulations to you, Travis, and congratulations to the ADF. You are getting ready for an amazing, amazing ride. You know, it was like returning home when I came out of the elevator just now to come into this room, having served on the board of ADF. Pretty long time ago now. Following Ambassador Carson when he was here as the Assistant Secretary, and then I came on board. And what I saw during that period when I served on the board was the important work that the ADF does, the important work that is done to support Africa. And not only did I see it from the vantage point of the board, but I saw it from the vantage point of African eyes. I traveled on a regular basis and saw the projects that you were involved in. I lived and worked in Liberia, and ADF was there doing amazing work to support the population there. So for that reason, I can think of no better person to head this organization than Travis. Travis has brought with him years of preparation. And I have throughout my little remarks passion and compassion, and you saw it here today, the passion that he has for this continent, that he will bring to this job every single day. The caring. It's not a job. It's for you. It is a passion, and we will see that every day in the work that you would do. Africa has many challenges in front of it. Travis laid out a few. It has a huge youth population. The median age is 19. Women make up more than 50% of the population in almost every country, and women are the drivers of change across the continent of Africa. Entrepreneurship is important. Environment is important. Agriculture is important. All of these are priorities that the ADF will be taking on in the future, and priorities that I know that Travis can be trusted to move this organization to the next level of engagement on the continent of Africa to achieve. So again, let me just congratulate you, congratulate the organization, and congratulate ourselves. I am a proud old goat and proud of my kid, and proud to share the success of our kid, Johnny, with you. Thank you very much.
Thank everyone. It's my time to thank everyone. Thank you all. We have some refreshments here. The room is kind of small, but feel free to mingle if you came all this way. We don't have this chance to get together very often, so we hope you'll stay with us for a little while longer. I'm going to ask Travis and his family and Linda and a few others to stay for some photos. But thank you all again for coming. It's been a very special day for us here at USADF, and thanks again to the staff and all of you. Thanks.
Steady your face just for me. I wanna take a picture so this could last longer for me. Yeah, take my secrets, got them like precious money. I never want to hear you quiet, so I write songs for you.